It's live now. Good evening, people. Just a general chit chat tonight. We've got Cookie and Days with me. Anybody got anything they'd like to kick off with? Days, Cookie. In fact, how are you both tonight?
Bang on, mate. Good to have a room to speak to the two geese. Probably know you for best part of about 18 months now, like from Bilderberg. In fact, about just over a year. But some of the soundest guys I've met, you know what I mean, and very knowledgeable people. Always good to check in these.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
Evening, Cookie. How are you tonight?
I'm cool, thank you. I'm all a golden ring at the moment, so I was distracted sharing the stream, the YouTube stream, onto Google Plus, so that hopefully at least some people can see it. But yeah, I'm cool, man. Thank you. Just been mainly busy today, catching up on lots and lots of info. There's been a load of stuff going on and people have been uploading loads of videos, so yeah, I've been doing all that.
Do you want to enlighten us a little bit? Because, like I said, I've been having problems with YouTube not sending me videos through as well. So I've actually just started to look at this the ninth circle. Just started to look at that this evening, but I've not got deep enough into it to talk about it really. So I was just caught little bits at news, and it'd be helpful you talking me up really. Okay, if you don't mind.
I can't say I know about it, to be honest. Ninth circle.
No, sorry, not. I mean today's goings on.
Oh, you mean just in general? Well, yeah, I mean, I've got a limited perspective by the fact of what news I've been looking at, but yeah. I think probably the main thing, one of the last things I saw was the little speech that Obama gave, blah, blah, talking about that they're not going to war in Iraq, or they're not going to go to war in Iraq, but they don't rule it out. It's the usual forked tongue bullshit. You know, while they're sending troops there and saying they're going to do airstrikes and shit like that. Let's get rid of this silly golden ring. But yeah, there was that going on. And it's strange synchronistic timings of a lot of stuff recently. Just before I saw that on Mox News, one of the other channels I follow, Linda Little Bear, Linda and Kenny in America, she'd put up a video asking for people to help do another No War Not In My Name video, which some people may have seen. I uploaded a copy of it onto my channel, and they want to try do another one if we can spread enough awareness of it, get more people involved. I know it is like shouting at the whirlwind, but when more and more people hear you shouting at the whirlwind, more and more people will come and stand with you. So, you know, sharing that awareness of the majority of people don't want this crap. You know, they don't want to go to war in Iraq again, but the crazy people in the White House and the Vatican and in the City of London are deciding to take it that way. So,
yeah, I'm actually hoping that it doesn't kick off. Not well, in a couple of reasons really. It's my nephew's just joined up. I don't know whether I talked about it before or not, but he's actually on basic training now. I tried talking about it, you know what I mean, but he's his own man, isn't he? He can do what he wants really. But he's sat here with me, he's seen what's going on in the world, and he's seen what I watch and what I read up on and things like that. But you can't get it through to him at that age, can you? You know what I mean? He's only 24. But I just hope he comes home. He comes home in 2 weeks for like, it's sort of like after 4 weeks they let you decide whether you want to carry on or come out. and then they do it again after you end your basic training, and they'll ask you again whether you want to carry on, and then you sign your contract after you, as you know, don't you, Cookie? You've done it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like teaching your granite suck eggs here, isn't it? But yeah, he comes home in 2 weeks after he's done his 4, or see what happens. He wants me to go down on Families Day, but I don't want to go on to another army camp, me.
Yeah, it's not exactly. Yeah, from his point of view, you were probably completely the wrong person to ask to be there, because you're just going to keep pointing things out to him and saying, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad. Then again, maybe that's what he needs. Maybe that's why he's asking.
Well, he treats me like his dad, to tell you the truth. Everything has been to me all the time. Well, his dad were a squaddy, his granddad were a squaddy, his cousin's been a squaddy, his other cousins, it's been in family for years, you know what I mean? Air Force, military. But I think I had it out with him. I asked him, I said, why are you going in? Is it pressure from like your dad's side? No, I'm just sick. There's no work about. So I've gone and signed up. But if I can get a full-time job before, he said I won't go in. So that made me believe him, you know what I mean? That there was no pressure on him. Because, like I say, his granddad's side was big on military. His dad's side was big on military. So
It's that pressure they're putting on the younger generation, because with all the propaganda and the psychological warfare that they're doing on the younger generation, convincing them or trying to convince them that if they don't have a job, then they're worthless, they're useless, they're scum, they're useless eaters, all that kind of shit. You know, they're scroungers and dolies and whatever. So what's your option? You, in a position, and I mean, this certainly I feel is more relevant as a young man, because I know I had those kind of feelings back in the day when I was that age. It was like, well, I'm expected to be a provider. I've got to be doing something. So if the only options you're left with is to sit and be subject to all these attacks of you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you're a waste, you're a parasite, what are you going to do? And it becomes almost like a sacrifice. Your choice is put up with us constantly attacking you, or throw your dice and see if you survive the battlefront. And if you do, then we might actually, be willing to like you and let you live in our society. It really has become like Starship Troopers. If you want to be a citizen and have any rights and any acceptance in this society, you have to go and fight. You have to go to the war and sacrifice a limb or two.
yeah, and it's sad, innit? It's beyond a joke, really.
It's sick.
Yeah, it really is. Which leads us back to this ninth circle as well. I really wish we'd read up on this a lot, because it looks really interesting. If you type in ninth circle, ninth circle in international judges, I think you should get it on something like that. This is implying all the royal family and everything. This and the Swedish royal family and all that. As I was saying, human, using humans for hunts on, is it Queen Beatrice of Sweden?
She owns Shell, doesn't she?
Sorry?
She owns Shell company, Royal Dutch Shell.
Royal Dutch Shell, yeah.
She owns Shell. They've been getting up to some very strange things, like, looks of this. I'm just trying to pull it up.
Right, circles is quite important. When I heard it, it was like circles within circles. I don't know if you've heard of that phrase, Mickey.
Yep, because it is. Yeah, like the wheels within wheels from that Ezekiel's vision of the archangel, and he's riding on the wheels within wheels. There's some really good medieval paintings of the idea and whatever. They're quite UFO and trippy and stuff like that. But yeah, for me, that kind of ancient knowledge was trying to convey the unity effect of what's going on in the reality around us. We're all connected to each other and we interact within different spheres of interaction, but those interactions are all interlaced. So you end up with, in a two-dimensional sense, you sort of see a kind of cobweb of connections and networks, but it's not two-dimensional, it's multi-dimensional. So it's like spheres linked into spheres, linked into spheres. There is one version of the flower of life that uses circles. I can't remember how many circles now off the top of my head. But yeah, it is that circles within circles principle. It's like saying as above, so below. It's sort of like stating a truth, a constant about the reality. When you actually dig past the bullshit, you can see this being there. Does that make sense? Yeah.
No, definitely. I was just wondering if it was is it 64 circles that would take the 64 tetrahedral grid that makes up that.
I can't remember the number.
Geometry. A lot of
I can't.
A lot of Nassim Harameyn's work points to the number 64. You consider that sort of sacred geometry. And the rings
could
again,
be.
rings
That's
and
what I was
symbols.
going.
It could imply the sort of mafia style buffer system that we see in place as well. You can't really touch the top of the system because the lower minions they literally act as a bodyguard to protect them. It sort of links back to the way that the beehive structure for the Royal Institute. Their first experiment was the glass beehive. All that sort of. As soon as we start talking about that's the links that that start firing off in the synapses, I think.
They are used as well. The bodyguard kind of thing is as a meat shield, what I would call a meat shield, which means they'll quite happily sacrifice the drones to keep you away from them. So they'll throw the people into the war just to keep you away from getting to them in the castle. Ninth circle is. Sorry, I was just going to say. No, so we got that lag effect again. I was just going to say the ninth circle. When you said it, instantly made me think of the ninth gate, the ninth circle of hell. Because hell, according to Dante anyway, has those various circles, the levels as you go down. Whether that was why they chose that name that way to imply that, it could be because of the information they're giving out here.
The circle's an eternal geometric object as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you think of it as well as it's the infinity as well as being the singularity, because it's self-contained and whatever. And when you have the 0 and the 1, 0 is the womb and 1 is the phallus. You know, these things go very deep in that respect of how they are really deep down in the symbology and the meaning of a lot of the other stuff that we see on the higher levels. And I say higher levels in the way it's like piled on and on and on. You know, there's different meanings made out of those original base meanings, and then it's complicated and they stick flourishes on it and shit like that.
It's go on. Okay, sorry.
Sorry, do you think that we're seeing what reflected in the computer world, the shift? If we're moving from binary to quantum, and then we're seeing what the sort of transhumanist agenda, are we seeing what a sort of as above, so below sort of fractal representation of that?
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. I think for somebody like, say, take the example of somebody like Kurzweil, because he's such a proponent of the whole idea, but he's presented very much as the kind of materialistic, technocratic version of it. You know, he's a priest of science. So he presents it with lots and lots of just scientific data and facts and information. Whereas what he is actually showing to people is that when this thing starts, or this is the way they see it anyway, when this thing kicks in, you will have the power of a god. Because at a quantum level, enabled by the technology, you will be able to make both 0 and 1 and both at the same time.
And would that tie in with Ayn Rand and socialism, really? Like replacing God as the authority and becoming a superhuman?
Mm-hmm. The Ubermensch. When that ultimate, well, they think that will give them the ultimate power of being able to create whatever they want, because they would have quantum control and quantum connection. But to me, it's that once you sign a contract with the beast, there ain't no escape. Yeah, and they put these stories out. I remember I did have a little rant about it a while ago, because just ranting about news stories and whatever. I think it was in the Daily Mail, and they were talking about how they could, using technology, they could put prisoners, criminals, into a prison that they think would last 1,000 years, and then they imply that through this technology they could create an illusory existence in the prisoner's mind, such that they could be in hell for however many years, you know, thousands of years, if not for as long as they want. Yeah, and they're giving you these indications that they are going to be able to do this via this technology. But I feel they are not only trying to fool the public, fool everyone, they're fooling themselves as well. Because it's all going to, in that pyramidal system that they rely on, it's all going to come down to the ultimate control of whoever is sat on top of the pyramid. So you go along with this kind of Kurzweil transhumanist utopia, you plug yourself in, you get yourself transformed, you have all the implants and all the changes and all that shit, and then who is it that's programming all this stuff? Who is it that's building the technology that you then stick in yourself? And who's running the power supply, and all these kind of problems of allowing external forces some kind of pseudo ultimate power over you. It's not truly ultimate power, but if it has that kind of control over you, you're going to think it's ultimate power. They're just, it's insanity, crazy insanity.
You know, what's happening, mate?
I was just looking over that ninth circle.
Ninth circle.
Where's it gone? The old untrustworthy WikiLeaks. We've got the 9 circles of hell. First circle, limbo. Second circle, lust. Third circle, gluttony. Fourth circle, greed. Fifth circle, anger. Sixth circle, heresy. Seventh circle, violence. Eighth circle, fraud, bankers. Ninth circle, treachery. So that's your 9 circles. It's if you go on to the images of it, surprise, surprise, who's in them? Queen and Pope. Mad that, innit? It's I was trying to find the post. Somebody posted it on Facebook when I was having a scroll through newsfeed, and I just can't find. I just can't find the post. It was quite recent one about international judges trying to break up the ring, but that's probably jealousy of their own ring, isn't it?
It's probably a bullshit distraction psyop.
Yeah. But,
I don't think there's any more evidence that these people are the lowest among us.
oh,
Do you know what I mean? Like they're fucking. I mean, sometimes it's best not to say too much. You know what I mean? But we're all of an opinion of these people, aren't we? You know what I mean? Well, they're a part of a club or whatever. You know what I mean? That they've been doing what they've been doing for a long time.
Part of the reason I say psyops as well is because by them saying that it's going to be brought down by a load of judges, or did you say judges?
I've just found it. I don't know why, I've just found it. Prosecutor's Office of the International Common Law Court of Justice, Brussels Bulletin, number 4, Wednesday, May the 14th, 2014.
Well, it's reinforcing the judicial system then. It's giving the public the implication that, don't worry, the judicial system does work and it will deal with these nasty, horrible people.
It's ninth circle, child sacrificial cult members' locations and dates are identified to the court. Prosecutors.
The thing that I would say about this site being done, I don't know about the veracity of this court. I don't know how much legal reality there is behind it, or whether it's somebody trying to drum up interest in a political cause of their own. And so, well, obviously it's I mean, the cause is these people have got a paedophile ring, an international paedophile ring, and they're up to all sorts, you know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and categorise their crimes, you know what I mean? Everybody knows what they're all about.
Yeah.
But I don't see that court there. I think that's somebody trying to give the impression of having, and using all these words as a minefield, but I think that's somebody trying to give the impression of having the force of a sort of centralised European authority, and there isn't really one there, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Was that Kevin Annette?
But, good luck.
The face on the video I thought I saw looked like, is it Kevin Annette? I think his name is something like that. Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to play it just in case.
Aye.
You know,
Well, I think that's done the rounds. I think people should be aware of that's tuning into this sort of broadcast.
Right. You got this on the link, please? So it just sends it to the same one. But I mean, the actual 9 circle looks a good read anyway. If you get bored one there, we've got Facebook and everything.
The other reference to circles with these people is the Luciferian aspect, the Saturnian aspect, where there's believed to be circles that emanate beyond the planet Saturn, which is seen and unseen. It emanates from its hexagonal. If you look at it from a 2D aspect, it's aerial. It can be a cube, possibly a cube at the top, with a swirling vortex. It's sort of unique in nature. Cookie, have you looked into that sort of thing?
Yeah. That is a massive box of worms, an absolutely massive box of worms. If you want to get into like all the stuff to do with Saturn worship is the core of most of the religions, all that kind of stuff. Oh man, but just to keep it simple, to address primarily what you said, yeah, the way that I feel it's down to the electromagnetism. That's the easiest way I can describe it using the kind of scientific language and terminology that we use. It's the magnetic field of Saturn and the way it interacts primarily with the Sun, but also the other bodies in the solar system, give it this effect that if you could see through the clouds of Saturn, if you could see the geometry of that magnetic effect, you would more than likely see Metatron's cube inside the circle that is Saturn. Yeah, and the reason that classic photograph of is it a hexagon on the poles that forms because of the shape of the magnetic field. I feel that's the reason why it forms that shape. But then you've also got so many other factors, such as it's the fifth planet. The way it orbits us and the interaction with the other solar bodies and stuff like that, it's very in-depth, complicated, and you will, if you're interested, there is an immense amount of information and detail out there, not just about the kind of like scientific information about the planet itself, but about all the other aspects, the way it affects our culture, religion, symbolism, loads and loads of stuff. For myself, I feel I've worked my way through a lot of this stuff. A lot of it I've forgotten along the way, but you know, I can point you towards stuff. There's a channel called Round Saturn's Eye. He does quite a lot of stuff about the Saturn worship. So Police State Radio, he's done a lot of stuff in the past about that as well. He covers it really well. They dig into it. And I know there's other sort of esoteric channels out there that people have mentioned before. But the conclusion I came to, Black Cube, yeah. The Black Cube. Exactly right. The Kaaba. Yeah, the Kaaba in Mecca. Yeah. The conclusion I come to, and I sort of alluded to this a while ago with a quick comment, that it was deliberately casting a seed out there, and I know people saw it and whatever, and there's actually, interestingly, been some synchronistic output that I've seen from other people talking about similar topics or points coming from the same kind of angle. Anyway, I'm digressing. The Sun, S-U-N, Sun, our solar body, which is proper name is Sol. I say its proper name, the name we have given it, its terminology is Sol. That is like the equivalent to your pineal gland for us at a solar galactic level. Yeah. This verges a little bit into what people might know as Kabbalah, but I think Kabbalah is a little bit like astrology. It's a way of trying to interpret stuff that's so complex and so difficult to comprehend. It's a limited view of what's going on, but it's a way that you can sort of peek through a window and get a glimpse of some of this kind of stuff. But the Sun acts as a lens for the pure energy that emanates from the original source of all creation. Yeah. The reason why it's intertwined into our mythologies and our religions and our cultural and societal beliefs, all that kind of stuff, because it has that effect on us. whether you go the route of some religious and spiritual beliefs who say that we as souls actually come through the sun before we even appear here and that kind of stuff, I'm still open to that. I don't think there's any easy way to prove it one way or the other. You can't prove it or disprove it. But we know we can track, we can perform scientific experiments to provide repeatable evidence to show that the sun does actually have a major effect on all life on this planet, which includes us. The way we've evolved, the way we live and breathe and go about our daily business, loads of stuff. It does. So for me, that gives another dimensional layer to that aspect of the sun is the equivalent of your pineal gland. It's what focuses the energy into this solar system to allow us to be created, to exist and do what we're doing, talk about what is existence. Now, in terms of Saturn, this is where the Satan thing comes from. Because Satan, in its etymology, when you trace it back, implies the opposition, the opposer. The shaitan or shatan, I think, I'm not sure on the pronunciation, but it implies the opposition to the original creator. Yeah, because of its, and this again is referencing scientifically provable data, repeatable evidential data, shows that by its very being in the solar system, Saturn has a counterbalancing effect to the potency of the sun. So for us to exist, it's more than likely that we wouldn't exist the way we are now if Saturn wasn't there in our solar system. It has to be there. It needs to be there to enable us to exist the way we're existing. Yeah. Now, in some beliefs and religious structures, that has been taken to a point of meaning that therefore the Satan is bad, Saturn is bad, anything that grows from that understanding is bad, which is why a lot of people, especially like the Christian, I don't want to call them fundamentalists because they're not all fundamentalists, but they have quite fundamentalist views, and it's not just Christians, other, especially the Abrahamic religions do this. They have that focus of needing to say that it's bad, and only through the sun, the Christos, can you reach the creator, reach God again. Therefore Saturn is bad and anything that comes from it is bad. So the ancient religions that stemmed out of the Middle East, which are almost all completely Saturn based, and I feel this is, as it does over the years, the corruption of information, the slow dilution through misinterpretation and deliberate manipulation by the powers that think they be, has corrupted that understanding and left people with the impression that there is an evil being that emanates via Saturn that is then used to control and dominate all people. What we call in general the elites, like we've just been mentioning, the Queen and whatever, and that ninth circle principle and all that stuff, they use that knowledge, they keep it secret to themselves so that you won't understand these principles, so that you will feel disempowered, you will become a servant, a slave, because you don't have this knowledge, and they use what they know of it to corrupt it. So you end up with things such as the craziness, the chaos and the death cult attitude of the majority of the major religions, certainly the Abrahamic religions. Yeah, they have used it to oppress you. They have inverted that comprehension of how this thing works and used it against you so that they can control and dominate you. So I know that might have been quite a long-winded thing, but the original comment I posted was the sun is the fractal layer of the Christos. The Christos is the attaining an understanding or comprehension of your environment to such a degree that you can see or sense or feel or reconnect with or find your connection again back to what is the true light of all creation, where that original power came from. Yeah. And part of the reason why I got into stuff like the electric universe theory and principles is because I find their evidence, scientifically provable evidence, consistently over the years has been backing up this perspective. because if you look at the universe as an electrical plasma-based model of the flux and flow of these magnetic fields that are created by the movement of this electrical energy, you know, electric is just the best word we've got to use to describe it. That is the kind of result that gives you, such as the effects you see from Saturn. So the hexagonal poles and the way it affects everything else happening in the solar system. Yeah, when you see the way that energy from the center of creation has been like a lightning bolt shot in our direction, and I say in our direction because we weren't here until it got here. Yeah, the point is it's still going. It hasn't like fired off and then disappeared. It doesn't work that way. This thing is one single unity. It's a singularity. So it's ongoing. It's there. We just can't see it. We're starting to be able to get a picture of it from these kind of technologies that they're, you know, using to envision this electrical effect. But that power, that lightning bolt, is still coming our direction. When it gets to where it is now, it emanates the sun, the solar system, because that is the friction that creates the imbalance, which forms the movement, which creates matter, which creates the sun. And the counterbalance, the counterweight to enable life is Saturn. A long-winded explanation. I hope that made sense.
What's your take on the...
Big download. Sorry, mate. That was a few years download, like in the Matrix. Like, teach me Kung Fu.
What's your take on the anomaly on the asteroid belt and these two so-called planets they've think was there? As well, or?
I did see an announcement that this is based on theorists, i.e. they're just working with the numbers. They're not actually seeing anything yet, but yeah, supposedly there are a couple of other small planets out beyond Pluto. And for a long time NASA has talked about the potentiality of there being another large body that's a great distance, you know, it's out near the Oort belt and it's on a big long elliptical path and all this stuff, and it's potentially connected into the mythology of Nibiru and the rogue planet and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I did see the information about the other planets. I didn't see anything about the asteroid belt. I don't remember that.
No, sorry, I jumped from Sirius in my head at first, and then the other two planets come to my head, so I added that on to the end, and that's my fault, sorry. But yeah, I think the anomaly in the asteroid belt was Sirius, wasn't it?
Sirius, yeah. The biggest asteroid, isn't it? I think it's almost like a mini planet.
Yeah, it's supposed to be blue as well, isn't it? Or is that some crap on the grapevine?
Like, if you look into the Hopi prophecies, the Hopi legends, I should say, really, because it's not exactly a prophecy. It is in a way, there is a prophecy, but it's more their sort of collected cultural narrative, you know, their tribal cultural narrative. In that you've got the blue and the red Kachina, which is supposedly going to be like a forewarning of the great changes, and this verges into like your classic what's called catastrophism. People obsessing on, is it the end of the world? You know, is the world going to end? Is it Judgment Day? Is it the Armageddon? Are we all going to ascend? All that kind of stuff. And the New Age movement really corrupted a lot of this information. So they really, really like jumping on the bandwagon with stuff like that and creating basically bullshit propaganda. That's psychic vampirism for you, spiritual vampirism for you, because people use that, you know, even if it's not true, all they've got to do is post a story about it. People will get all hopeful or fearful, one or the other, and they seem to be able to utilise that energy in one way or another. You know, the people who do this, whoever they are.
Yeah. I don't know whether you've seen. Do you are you subscribed to Jumo72 by any chance?
Jam Noise, yeah.
So you've seen her latest video then?
Yeah, I was waiting to see what people posted on the comments. Plus, she said she was going to set up a camera this evening to see if she could see it again. So I was waiting for an update on it.
Yeah, I've actually got it on now. There's got Nano 63A's commenting. I've been showing this for a very long time from all around the world. Maybe now it's getting on the sun's ecliptic. Next winter will be visible from anywhere on the planet.
That's the same old Nibiru meme crap. I've been looking and reading that stuff since, I don't know, several years ago. It's like people posting clips of 2 suns, look, there's 2 suns, ah! Yeah.
I've got a little. Are you any good at riddles?
Sometimes.
Way off concept and everything, but you just reminded me of that 2 suns. I have no brothers. I have no sisters. But that man there is my dad's son.
You're a woman?
Sorry?
No, because then you'd have a brother, wouldn't you? Hmm.
That's your dad.
Say again.
No, it's not. It's yourself.
Yeah, you are actually right.
Looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
That's the
a
hardest place for a lot of people to look. Hardest place for a lot of people to look. Right in that mirror.
That's a good synchronicity, actually. I posted a comment under Max Egan uploaded a video earlier. He did a little show with Vinny Eastwood. Both good channels, recommend sub to them. And they were talking about some stuff like, people shouldn't be looking to gurus. Yes, it's good to get knowledge from and learning from people. Yeah, learn from people, but don't put them on pedestals like they're your guru, like there's some kind of savior or messiah figure or whatever. And knowing Max's work for a long time, and I know he uses the phrase in Lakesh quite often. In Lakesh, basically it means I am another yourself. I think the full phrase is in Lakesh Alakin, which means I see you, I see another of myself. So in other words, it's acknowledging the connection of all of us, acknowledging that we are all an emanation of this reality and we are all connected, yeah. And I just put this little comment saying, like, well, when people are looking for a guru, you're asking me to be my guru. How can I be your guru if we're all connected? If we're all connected, coming from the same emanation, then you and me, I am you in Lakesh. So you're asking yourself to be your own guru, but you're doing it through the reflection in a mirror that you're looking at me. It's like you're asking the wrong person. You should be asking yourself, not asking me.
My major problem with Buddhism, people fucking Buddha icons and stuff.
There's a weird sort of like inversion. It's sort of an inversion, but I feel that you can find your way through it if you want to, if you're willing to, if you can view it from the right angle. A lot about Buddhism is just the same as every other religion. They claim they're atheistic, but they deify the Siddhartha Buddha figure. So in other words, they're praying to him like he's a god. So it's a religion just like every other religion. At the same time, they tell you to turn away from trappings and to become the true observer. but yet they go through dogma and ritual just the same as other religions. You know, they perform ceremonies and all that kind of stuff, which if what they're saying is true, you don't need to do any of that. But I think it's the problem of the original message often gets polluted and diluted as it spreads through people. People misinterpret it or deliberately manipulate the message. So, I mean, what surprised me a while ago, I think it was last year, I was seeing reports about how there were Buddhist rebels carrying out suicide bombings, right? And this was like, hang on a minute, it's like, yeah, you hear about various religious fundamentalists doing stuff like that, but Buddhists doing it, man, the world is really, really tipped over the edge. You know, these people who claim total pacifism and love everything and everyone and be at one with and they're killing themselves and other innocent people just to make a point. What the hell? You know, but there is.
Was that actually true as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say the reports were true. Whether it was actually a Buddhist rebel doing it, difficult to tell. Chinese media propaganda is very, very strong. So it could have been a deliberately spun story to direct any concern or aggression or hatred towards the Buddhists.
Yeah. So I've been amongst monks and that, and I was really taken back when you said that.
Yeah.
I'm like them, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Most of the protests by the Buddhists, usually, I mean, it's primarily the monks that are doing this kind of stuff, is that they kill themselves. You know, the ultimate sacrificial protest is to burn yourself alive, to set yourself on fire, and they've done it in large numbers now. There's a lot of them over the last couple of years that have killed themselves in protest.
Yeah. So I've actually been blessed by a Buddhist monk over in Thailand. It was strange. You know, he's doing his water and all that,
Yeah.
and you know, we're in the Buddhist temple and all that. It's nice. Honestly, that country is absolutely beautiful. It's the nicest place I've ever been. I actually went twice in 1 year. You get up there and it's like the scenery is absolutely tremendous. But it's the initial, because you've got open sewers there, the initial hit of the stench. But after a couple of days, you get used to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'd advise anybody to go there. I mean, a lot of people straight away think brothels and all that stuff, go-go bars and things like that. But as soon as you get there, hire a vehicle, get up on the mountains or out into little villages. It's a totally different place. It opens your eyes. It's really a beautiful country, especially if you get out to islands as well. You get onto the beach, you've got taxi boats, and they'll take you to whatever island you're going to, and he'll drop you off and he'll say, "What time do you want me to pick you up?" He's there on the beach and he'll walk up and down the beach until he finds you. Tell you it's time to go home. Unbelievable it was. You get that for about 15 quid. Yeah, have you ever actually been over there cooking or?
No, I've not been there. I know I've got some friends who've been over there, lived there for a bit. But myself, I haven't actually been there. No, it's one of the places I haven't been. Well, there's loads of places I haven't been, but yeah, I've not been there.
See, I got to a point where I was sick of European countries all the time. Spain, lads going on holiday, oh we're going to Spain. Well, my first ever holiday I toured America. So anything after that were pretty hard for a beat, you know what I mean? So going to Europe, right, an upper class Blackpool to me. Sat outside the pool or that's the bar. I'd rather get out and mooch about. That's what I see an holiday for. go and look at the place you're going to. Not just go and sit at a bar. And when you're 18, 19, yeah. Not when you're in your 30s and early 40s, no. It's too late in life for sitting at a bar, innit? And just pumping ale back all day. What were most memorable place you've been to then, Cookie?
Ooh, that's a good question. Probably Palenque in well, it's in Guatemala, I think. It's in the Yucatan Peninsula, or not far from there anyway. Yeah, that was probably the most amazing. Because I've been to a lot, well, I say a lot, I've been to a few ancient sites like that, but that one, because hard to describe, it's not on the major tourist trail because of the fact that it's out in the jungle and you have to go into Guatemala.
Did I mute you there? I've muted you there, haven't I? I don't mean that.
Yeah, you did. Oh, can you hear me?
I tried to do something else, but I'm doing
No.
Too many buttons. But yeah, it's sort of out of the way in the jungle a bit, so it doesn't see loads of tourists. But the local town has obviously, tried to cash in on the tourist trade, as they would, considering where they are. They're primarily just a little farming town kind of thing. So when you go there, there's not like the classic sort of Disneyland touristification. There's not stuff everywhere, cafes and gift shops everywhere and stuff like that. It is just a town. There's a few little, they're almost like market stalls just near the entrance where people sell some like crafted stuff, things that you would expect them to sell to the tourists. But the place itself is still half covered in jungle. So you're going in there and you're wandering around, there's just jungle everywhere. There were howler monkeys eating vanilla pods in the trees above us. So I was stood there for like 10 minutes, go whoop, 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 chatting with the howler monkeys. And the guide was saying to me, like, you don't want to stay there too long because if they don't like you, they'll throw poo at you. So it was like, okay, leave them to their vanilla pods, carry on. And wandering around all these ruins, and when you see the pictures of Palenque, it doesn't really do it justice because you don't get an idea of the scale of the place. It was a small city. And even though a lot of it is still buried and covered in jungle, when you see the ruins sort of sticking out of the jungle, it really sort of registers a lot more of the scale of this thing. If you've seen, the classic Indiana Jones film, when he comes running out of the temple entrance with the ball chasing him at the beginning of the film, that was filmed on site in Palenque.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I mean, that's just one side note to the place, but yeah, that was probably, that for me as well was extremely synchronistic part of my life path, because the previous year I'd been at Stonehenge for the solstice, the first time that they'd let the public back up to the stones, like to actually go and touch the stones. For however many years it had always been blocked off. And it was the first year, was it 99, I think, or 2000, they were doing it because of the millennium. They said, okay, we'll let people back in, we'll let the druids on site to do the ceremony. I was there for that. And then the next year, I was in Yucatan and we visited Chichen Itza and Palenque and whatever. It was like, yeah, amazing place.
Oh, I've not even been to Stonehenge, and I lived down in, I don't know whether you've heard of, well, you will have done. You'll have heard of Tidworth, haven't you? Well,
I think so.
Tidworth down in Wiltshire, the Squaddy village. I lived down there for a while. It's just on the edge of Salisbury Plains, or parts of it really. Andover, Salisbury.
You should have gone there. Huh? But
It's,
I encourage, if you're here in the UK, I encourage people to go and visit these places, because I certainly feel I found this for myself. They will help you if you're looking for that reconnection. If you are seeking this kind of information, I mean, we're talking about kind of spiritual aspects and stuff like that, but they will help you along that path. Don't get misled by a lot of the corruption, and again, corruption, misinterpretation, manipulation of this kind of ancient knowledge that has been turned into the classic Hammer House of Horror witchcraft crap. That's just complete and utter bullshit to scare little children. It's like modern fairy tales.
yeah.
Places like Stonehenge, Glastonbury, Avebury, there are loads, and that's just mentioning the big ones. There's thousands of little stone circles and menhirs and standing stones and whatever dotted all over these islands. And some of them don't even have standing stones. Some of them might just be the remains of a hill fort and stuff like that, or a long barrow. Some of those places that you really feel. I feel the energy of those places.
Yeah. What's your what's your what's your take? What do you actually think it was for? See, I never, you say all these folk stories and things like that. I weren't a big one on folk stories and things like that. I never used to really take them on board. So truthfully, I haven't really heard any of them about. I can recollect about Stonehenge. So it's like, I've seen things like Tony Robinson with Time Team on it and things like that. But folk stories and things like that, no, I've not really that I can recollect heard any.
No, I can't either. I mean, the reason I use that phrase, like call it modern fairy tales, I mean the kind of implication, like the Hammer House storyline perception that evil, nasty, satanic witches turned up there and sacrificed babies, under the moonlight and stuff like that. So, yes, there are elements of paganism that do those kind of sacrificial rituals. Yes, they did, but a lot of that as well, that information as well, has been deliberately manipulated and corrupted to use as a control mechanism on people, like fairy tales. The original fairy tales are meant to teach you a simple lesson about the dangers of the world out there. So, like Little Red Riding Hood, I know there's debate about whether it was to do with female menstruation and stuff like that. Yeah, but I think primarily the reason that story was told again and again, like passed on as an oral tradition, was because it made the point to young children that there are big nasty people out there that will do you harm if you're not careful. It's like Hansel and Gretel going into the woods and all that stuff. These tales develop as a social narrative to enable the societal function to carry on, because otherwise you'd be losing people left, right and centre. If you don't tell them that the dark nasty woods can be dangerous because there's creatures and nasty people out there, losing people all over the place.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it, that. I've never actually heard it put that way before.
Well, that's the general sort of sociological, anthropological perspective on what are fairy tales, why do they happen, where did they come from, all that kind of stuff. But for me, the interest in that was more seeing how it is, and I feel it is an emanation of the subconscious, the global subconscious, that demonstrates for us our interconnection with the actual energy of where we are, our environment, where we live, which is why in the ancient tales a lot of things connect into animism, so they're to do with spirits of the land. or spirits of nature that emanate as some kind of animal creature, or as a waterfall, or as a magic rock. People go and touch the rock because it's got power and stuff like that. And these then develop into oral traditions, which helps the cohesion of the society. Yeah. But I feel, again, that a lot of that connects into a more ancient understanding of the way our environment works and how we interact with it. So the ancients had a better, or more of an acceptance of the fact that if you set up these kind of sites, they will help generate this power. So if you congregate people here, they will have more of a sense of unity, of fulfillment, of purpose, of goodness, or whatever it is that you're trying to use as the glue, the cohesive glue of your society. Yeah, the kind of time team perspective of how they built Stonehenge and what it was there for and all that lot, and how they show you the graphics of what the full processional avenue would have looked like and stuff like that. So yeah, it was most definitely used for ceremonial reasons. This had spiritual and religious overtones for the people that made use of it, the people that lived in the area, people throughout the whole country, really. It wasn't just that area. And at the same time, it worked as a sociological cohesion, in the same way as you have a church hall in your town. It was a place for people to gather. It was a place for the tribes to come together, for the kings to meet, for the priests to perform ceremonies and all this kind of stuff. So it helped bind your society together and actually form nations, using the word loosely.
Yeah. See, what I struggle with, on my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but they tie in the summer solstice and all that to it. But looking back, like, we go on an axis like that, don't we? We turn,
the processional axis.
Yeah. On so many 100,000 years, I think it's 250,000 years or so, what they call the Great Year, we turn to another pole star. So, if it is as old as they're saying, the sun wouldn't set in that position, would it? It'd be slightly out. Because we've turned...
Nassim Harriman would dispute that, then.
Sorry?
Nassim Harriman would dispute that.
It's just a question out there, really.
The movement of the Earth.
Yeah.
He's saying it's not just going on a sort of circular motion. He's saying that it's actually moving like a coil, like a DNA structure. It's moving through space, so it's not like occupying the same space like every 360th degree,
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just offering a different viewpoint on it,
Yeah, that's I mean, Harriman, if you go and watch some of his lectures and whatever, he does cover that point really well. And it's one of those things that classic academia, like the usual education system, school system, whatever, even up to college and university level, don't make this clear in any way whatsoever to people. If anything, the majority of them are ignorant of it or just ignore it for whatever reason, yeah? But we are classically shown the solar system as a flat plane. Yeah, it's a flat plane, the sun's in the middle, and the planets go round in circles or ellipses, yeah? But it's not. The sun is moving at speed through space, and our planets, us included, are drawn along in its wake, like the wake of a boat. And we're going round, yeah, but it's like we're going round the vortex funnel that is created by the sun. So like ball bearings rattling round the top of a funnel. So even with that procession is not just moving round on a flat plane going in a circle. It's moving, it's got another z-axis, as it were, while it's moving. Yeah. I'd also suggest Robert Bauval, the one guy who worked with Graham Hancock when they did some of the pyramids mysteries and stuff like that, because he uses the I can't think of the name of the software. You know, there's various kinds of software you can get that allows you to see what's in the sky, where the planets are, and stuff like that. And there's some, the one software he used allows you to move the date backwards and forwards, so you can see where they're going to be at certain dates in time. And he scrolled the time all the way back to when the pyramids and the Sphinx were, according to academics, built, and the stars didn't match up right. So they tried instead using what they theorized or hypothesized was the correct building date of the Sphinx in particular, because that's like the keystone of the Gaza Plateau, of that whole area, that whole sort of monumental area. And that lines up brilliantly with the constellation Leo. And if this Sphinx was meant to be a lion, not a pharaoh's head, because you just look at it, it looks like it's the wrong head on that body. Yeah. So if you think that at some point when the Egyptians were there and they went, oh, we'll claim this statue, get rid of the stupid lion's head and put my head on there because I'm pharaoh, that's probably what they did at some point. Whereas the original statue, to over 10,000 years, at which point it lines up with Leo, is it? Or is it Orion? I can't remember now. Memory's failing me.
Orion's belt, isn't it?
I know the pyramids themselves line up with Orion's belt, but I think the Sphinx is aligned with Leo, which, if they're correct of the original construction date being 10,000 plus, would be correct according to the astronomical measurements of what constellations were visible because of the precession of the equinoxes. Man, I'm saying a lot of big words tonight. I think I need to roll another smoke.
You been chewing on Bible? Dictionary, I mean.
Just hits me that way sometimes.
I was going to say, I mentioned Orion's belt as well. It was
is it Bill O'Donoghue? I've seen in his work.
I'm sure I have. Yeah, I definitely know the name. I'm trying to think what it is of his stuff that I've actually seen or read, though, and I can't remember.
He does a lot of sort of astrotheology, and he's talking about Orion possibly being where God is, because it's so beautiful. You know, like it's so spectacularly beautiful.
You mean like Danny Wilton's work? If you have a look at his work, I think that's brilliant. He's done some amazing work with some of that stuff. It does, again, it most definitely links into Kabbalah. But as I said earlier, I feel Kabbalah is like, it is that little window. It may not explain it properly or make it fully comprehensible, but it helps you get a glimpse of what is actually going on and what these things are. But yeah, he's done a lot of work with the Orion Nebula and showing how that potentially, like I was talking about as well, about the fractal emanation, if the trajectory is of the original energy coming into our solar system is coming through what we perceive as the Orion Nebula, because remember, it only looks that way because we're looking at it from this direction, you know, the kind of relativity principle. If we were on Pluto, it'd look different. Yeah, if we were in another solar system, it would look completely different. Yeah, but the direction we see it from, it is almost as if we are looking into the lightning bolt. You know, we're looking point on into the lightning bolt as it comes to our solar system. As well, you get into the Kabbalah side of it, the Adam Kadmon and all that kind of stuff. This again is it's a massive volume of information that you could get yourself into if you want to. It's taken me years to pick my way through some of this stuff, and no way am I in any way as knowledgeable as some of the people out there that have you know, dug right back down to the original manuscripts and read the original manuscripts in the original languages and stuff like that. I'm relying on those people's interpretations. And I know for a fact the only fact I know is my own ignorance. You know, like Socrates quote. And as I say, for me, I feel I've sort of accepted now that subconsciously I was following a particular path. I didn't realise it for a long time, but as it became realised for me, it was that I moved through bodies of information that helped me put the next paving slab in front of myself to move on, if that makes sense. Yeah. So
Makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm.
a lot of these kind of core areas of information, such as Kabbalah, I've read a little bit about Kabbalah. There's loads of good information about it online for you to research into if you want to. Loads of stuff. People have, you know, for a few thousand years, people have been studying this stuff. So there's plenty of info out there for you to get into if you want to. I've looked at a little bit until I've got this way of doing things where I'll look at stuff and go, right, okay, does that sort of match up and make that work for me? It's like finding jigsaw pieces that help you to make that path. Some people would, I feel, misinterpret that as confirmation bias. I don't feel I suffer from that to any bad degree because I'm quite diligent at looking for counter arguments and trying to disprove myself. I went through a few years of deliberately asking people questions along the lines of, well, please prove me wrong. Come on, prove me wrong, because I need somebody to prove this wrong to me, because if it's right, then I need to reshuffle all my foundations again. Yeah. So sometimes, like I said, I spent a few years doing that. I was going in little circles, bouncing off people, going, I'm thinking this because I've been looking at this information, that information. Do you think it's right? Please prove me wrong, because I need you to help me disprove this. But yeah, I picked up bits along the way about various stuff. But yeah, if you want to get into that subject, it is a massive subject, a lot of work to go through if you want to do it.
I don't know if you're familiar with the work of Mark Passio.
Yeah, only a little bit. I've only sort of watched, well, I say I've watched quite a few hours of his presentations and lectures, looked at a bit on his website, but I didn't really sort of see him until probably 18 months ago, a couple of years ago, and he started sort of cropping up in my view, as it were, via the internet that I was looking at, whatever. But yeah, sorry, rambling on about it.
No, mate. He deals with a wide range of subjects, as you know. It's what on earth is happening, as his podcasts and so forth are hosted there, but he deals with Kabbalah, and for me, it's just, for people that need an introduction to these sort of occult subjects, it's just a vast knowledge base.
Yeah, I really liked his stuff as well, that was primarily addressing for people how a lot of this information has been either corrupted or deliberately manipulated to be used against you. So he did that little sort of how can you describe it? Sort of like a debunking, not exactly debunking, but he did his sort of like,
differential.
Yeah, talking about what he described as New Age bullshitisms.
Yeah.
And where we'll go through loads of different points, which I found are very true, you know, about how certain aspects of reality and this kind of knowledge have been manipulated so that it keeps you spinning in circles or subjugates you, or, you know, is used against you, basically. And he's really good at helping people recenter and go, no, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Oh, yeah, right, I've got you.
The sacred masculine aspect. Like all like he's saying that the New Age movement, and obviously they can use that term again and again and again because there's always going to be a New Age to move into.
Yep.
But obviously you've got the Aquarius sort of factor as well at the moment. But he's saying that a lot of the danger with the New Age sort of stuff is that it takes away the sacred masculine aspect or component of your makeup, where you sort of say, well, it's supposed to be that way, or sit cross-legged and sort of be steamrollered as a hippie, you know?
Yep. It's kind of perspective I was left with. After sort of mooching around in the New Age stuff for a number of years, it's that ultimately passive observer mentality that the unpleasant people will be quite happy for you to be in. You know, I can remember doing the little kind of podcast radio show things that I did years ago, where I was ranting the same kind of stuff. You know, if you just sit on the floor cross-legged singing Kumbaya, this beast, this machine thing will quite happily just tarmac over you.
Aye. It's weird. It's about finding a balance, I suppose. I suppose that is the should be the goal in everybody's life, like uniting the sacred masculine and sacred feminine. Pure, you want to talk about that as well. Don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's nothing. I don't want to say it's nothing new in a sense, like he's to denigrate what he's saying or whatever, but it is something that's been repeated for a long time. It's just that people get so distracted and we get entrained into needing the drama and needing the outside authority, the messiah figure or pseudo-parent figure to save us and all that kind of shit. People get distracted away from it, but one of my favourite quotes was from a Sufist poet, Malvana Rumi. The middle path is the road to wisdom. And it's talking about striking that balance. When we as human beings are still in the womb, I'm not sure at what point in the gestation this changes. I know it's a period into the gestation period before it happens, but when you're in the womb, you're all female. We are all female. We begin as female. And it's only during the process of gestation that if you have the extra chromosomes, you will become a male. Yeah. So in a way, we are, and this is not to big up the feminine aspect or fall into that kind of new age thing like we've just been talking about. Not at all. This is the balance. But in that kind of way, we are the opposer. We are the Satan. We are the counterbalance weight that is Saturn. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I feel this is why for most of the time anyway, this is generally true. It's the males, the men, that feel this kind of stuff more strongly. It makes them more agitated. They feel more pushed by it because you're trying to deal with threats so that you can enable the longevity of your bloodline, your procreate, your progeny, all that kind of stuff. So anything, even the most subtlest of threat like this, is more likely to agitate us. We're more sensitive to it, which is why you see more males respond to it. But the balancing is also, the way we exist as dualistic beings. We've got the existence of the physical with the conscious and spiritual, left and right hemisphere of the brain, bifocal, the two hands, all this kind of stuff. Yeah. So we only exist because there is a balance, there is a harmony that is going on that enables this body to function and this consciousness, this spirit to work so that I can do what I'm doing. So this can create balance, this can achieve harmony and balance. See, it's only the clouding via the manipulation of the ego that gets people to be unbalanced. Unbalanced people end up getting hurt people. You create a chain effect of pollution, of infection. Yeah.
Wow.
Tell you what, Cookie, I love you. You're just so intellectual. It's unbelievable.
Don't polish my knob.
No, I honestly feel every time I spoke to you, I come away and I've learned something off you.
Good. That's all I want. I want you to hopefully take something that I've said and get something out of it, and then proceed from there at your own choice. Yeah. If you want to go and look into anything that I've said, and you go through your own learning process, all I'm trying to do is rattle the shackles, so that people can start undoing them for themselves. Yeah, and that's not to say I'm perfect in any way. This seems to have been coming up a lot recently as well, synchronistically.
I
I can't.
Names, everything that gets mentioned, I write down.
Cool.
And I get through them slowly.
Yeah. It's a good idea. I mean, what I do, I tell other people who do stuff online to do this. You know, you use the little notepad program that comes with your Windows, or if you're on Linux or whatever, you can get another little sort of program that will do the same kind of thing. But it's just a really simplistic text editor, so it doesn't take up a lot of processing time or memory space or anything. You just make your notes in there. Yeah. It is a good idea as well, though, to do what would be called hard copy, physical paper and pen, as it were, so that if something happens to your computer, you've still got it in your hand. The power of paper.
I'm hoping that happens to this. You've got 2 hard drives in it. It's
I've got, I can't even remember how many hard drives I've got now. Not all in this one machine, but over the years, as I've changed machines and upgraded and all this kind of stuff, I've now got a nice little pile of hard drives that have got various amounts of information and stuff on them. Yeah. Films and video files and PDFs and document files, all that kind of stuff.
I got a solid state drive.
Sorry?
I got a solid state drive.
Is that like an external drive, is it?
It's a solid state, it's called.
Yeah, no moving parts. It uses solid state memory to work as the drive, even though they're still calling it a drive. That's just to help people, get the point that it's big enough for you to store information in permanently. It's like what used to be called a ROM drive. It's not strictly a ROM drive, it's a RAM drive because you can delete it and whatever, but it's more like solid state memory inside a case to such a degree that it's big enough to store lots of stuff in.
Right.
It'll help with audio as well, because it won't be like indexing, and it won't be tasking the fan and hearing the noises from the drive and so forth.
Yeah, that's a good point. You
Especially
get much
working in Ableton and things like that.
I'm guessing you'd get much higher transfer rates as well.
Oh, definitely. It's really, really fast. Well, looking at the demos anyway.
Are you thinking of getting one then, Dave?
It's next on the hit list. That and a quiet fan, and I need to speak to somebody that's get like electrical knowledge, really, because I don't know if my whole rig is grounded correctly. See, when you hear like a wee noise through the speakers, I mean, when you've tried everything else, I think it might be that, essentially. Like, I might have to have a wee look at it as well. So somebody suggested like changing from the three pin into the 2 pin that you get in Continental, and then back to the 3, It's a sort of experimental ground lift sort of thing, but it's not my forte at all. Do you know what I mean?
Well, if you're going to eliminate from a 3-pin to a 2-pin, you're eliminating the earth, because that's what a 3-pin is. You've got your positive and your negative, which you know as your blue and your brown, and then you've got your yellow and your green in this country, which is the earth. By going down to a 2-prong, you're eliminating that earth, so you're not going to rectify that problem if you're going to have a problem.
You possibly could. I only know this from like music equipment stuff, because you could sometimes get similar problems. This is like when setting up on stage to play with bands and whatever. And if somebody had a bad earth, you would constantly get like a fizz or crackle coming from the speaker. Or when they moved around, I mean, most of the stuff I've done has been guitar-based stuff, so it's like move around with your guitar and you can just hear. Yeah. And one of the ways to solve that is, as suggested, detach the earth cable from the power lead, right? It does work, but it works because instead of earthing to the power cord connection into the wall, the item will be earthed within itself and through you. Now, this is certainly true for me, because we were dealing with electric guitars, you know, stringed instruments. So by you touching the strings, you were earthing the whole circuit. Yeah, and
I felt that myself.
I experienced that firsthand once when in the band I was playing with at the time. The one guy's rig was like that because he had that kind of electrical buzz problem, so he disconnected his earth, and we were all mushing around and giving it loads, you know, jumping around, playing away. And as he turned, the way a lot of guitarists do when they string their guitar, they'll leave little tails on the head of the string. So, you know, you got this little tail of string on the headstock of the guitar. And he spun around and just caught me with it, and it was just like, ah! He's like, what the fuck? He's like, yeah, your rig is earthed and mine isn't, so therefore, bzz. So it could potentially work, but you could. I'm not certain on this because I'm not sure about the inside gubbins with the computer, but you could potentially be making your computer live. Yeah. So as long as you don't touch the gubbins box or anything, you know, just use the mouse and the keyboard, you should be all right. But I ain't certain on that, you know.
I need to have. I'll probably need to get Dean up for the weekend or something, man. Have a look at it before I blow myself up.
Yeah.
So I did. You know, the electronic gates, barriers, turnstiles, things like that. I fitted them.
I suppose an electrocuted part of it could come in quite handy, you know what I mean? If you need to have some crowd control aspect.
Security.
Flip the switch.
It'd be good if you could tie that to a password. So like when you try to log into your computer, it asks you for the password, and if you get it wrong, it just electrifies itself. So whoever touches it, you know. It's just like RoboCop.
Ed 209 always scared me.
Ed
209 and RoboCop. Like, you've got 20 seconds to comply.
Yeah.
Like, see if something went wrong, as it did go wrong in that situation. I think RoboCop was one of my favourite films, definitely. You know what I mean? I think it was press. I hate that word in so many ways, but that sort of OCP, wasn't it? The corporations that ran the poll.
Omnicorp.
That way that if Ed 209's out of control, there's no turning back. It's judge, jury and executor. And that's what we're seeing with the drones.
Yep.
been testing them up here. I'm on edge of hills here, innit? They've been, one at lads sent me some photographs up on moor with his son.
It's unbelievable, man.
Sent me photographs. Let's look at this. Fucking drones up on moors. Can't believe it. They weren't small either. They weren't like, you know, the really big round ones with the 4 propellers on it.
A quadricopter.
Yeah, they were like 2 meters wide, 3 meters wide, something like that. But one of them big and with dome camera underneath. Still got photos somewhere. But
You didn't throw your jumper at it.
Careful.
I'm not sorry. What on that days? What did you say, mate?
I saw a quadricopter and thought it was a UFO and put it on YouTube and like it thousands of views. And Chris Everard was on, like, oh, what great footage, you know, like, going to use this in a, on you go. But it was a quadricopter. The LEDs.
We are going to see a lot of the same kind of phase that people went through when digital cameras first came out, and we had the orbs phase. I mean, that's still a little bit ongoing, and there is a certain amount of interest to it in the sense of some stuff, but the vast majority of it, 90% of it, are digital artifacts because of the way new digital technology works, the digital cameras. So in the same manner, I feel now the drones are being commercialised, we're going to have another massive phase of people seeing UFOs and putting up videos of UFOs, and it'll just be a drone.
For me, it's we considered as we made it across the vast reaches of space. We made it across the solar system, but we just didn't have the technology to cloak ourselves from your iPhone.
The other aspect to that, which I've always liked, is we've travelled multi-million light years across the universe to come here to look up your bum. What? So hang on, these people, that whatever they are, these beings are clever enough to be able to invent craft that enable them to travel the immense distances of the gaps of space. And why are they here? To look up our rectum. What? Nah.
Catalogue.
It's like the galactic porn.
My helicopter, didn't they, that cattle? Was it in... I can't remember where it went now. In Roswell, wasn't it?
Cattle mutilation stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't just around there. No, there's a load of reports in different places, but to be honest, I don't think the cattle mutilation story's got anything to do with extraterrestrials. I just don't. It's not.
What's your belief on
them? Whether it's governmental or state operated, I don't know. It could be some kind of shadow government or mega corporation or whatever. The shadowy group. You know, somebody works in the background, skirting the law or above the law or exempt from the law or whatever. And they have some kind of invested interest in tracking biological changes or contamination, which is why they concentrate on the bum hole and the lips and the trachea. Basically, they are the main places that your body or the animal's body, the cow's body, is ingesting, taking in what is in the environment. And there is some good evidence to back up that hypothesis. People have looked into the potentials of the drift of radioactive contamination from test sites and things like that. So I think it's more likely what was going on was these cattle are being cut open to see what's happening inside them, see if there's any mutations or infections or whatever. The X-Files did actually sort of give good coverage on this in a way back in the day in the series. And they did sort of put out that kind of perspective quite well, but of course, being the show that it is, it's got to be entertaining. They did then also throw the same old turds in the punch bowl of it's like, oh, it's little grey aliens that want to look up cows' bum holes. Strangely enough, as well, talking about like prescient media, like TV programs and whatever, I don't know if you remember, towards the end of the series, they sort of, in a convoluted fashion, as they do, it's just part of what made the storylines entertaining, they tied a lot of the threads together with the potential to kill off large amounts of the bees, and they were going to replace them with genetically manipulated cloned bees that were going to be able to be controlled by these shadowy corporate governmental figures so that they could control who could have food. Now, isn't it interesting that over recent years, a decade after that series wound up, we are now experiencing exactly that thing happening? And these mega corporations are coming out and saying, oh, we'll make electric bees, we'll make drone bees, we'll make genetically modified bees. Don't worry, folks, we don't need to worry about the bees, we'll sort it. Yeah.
Can't do that, man, can they?
Well, it's just more of, it's the continuing demonstration of man's ability to be so egocentric, to think that we can supplant the proven ability of the natural world to perform these functions. Yeah, the reason these functions work is because as nature has developed, it's fulfilled that role, because the energy of life fills every niche it possibly can that could exist. So those kind of intertwined biospheres, ecosystems that rely on things such as insects like bees to enable the pollination of plants so that we can eat the plants, all this kind of stuff. Nature's done it for us already, but we're so cocksure of ourselves, we think we can do it better. We can outdo God.
Arrogant meddling that got us into trouble in the first place.
Yeah.
I think we're going to resolve the situation by more of the same.
But I'll tell you what, I watched that Zardox today.
Oh, did you? Cool.
Yeah.
The penis is bad.
Yeah.
Do you remember when the floating head is flying around and it's like transmitting this voice, and the penis is bad, the penis is bad.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. It was strange. That's why I've got to watch it again, because I've got to get over the initial what the fuck's going on here. You know what I mean?
It took me. Sorry, go on. Finish what you were going to say first.
Another reason is because I don't really watch a lot of films and I can't really get into them proper. But that I did, and I found it comical sometimes, but good. And I need to watch it again to get more on the drift of what you've been talking about it, because I didn't take it in a great deal on the first time. But yeah, it was good, and I'm glad you pointed me in that direction.
I was going to say it is a major download all in one go, and it took me quite a number of years, because I saw it back when I was a teenager. First time I saw it, and I had a similar impression. It's like, oh wow, this is interesting, because it's just so weird, it's surreal. It's a bit like, it's almost like a movie version of something Monty Python would do. This is just like craziness. Sit and watch this. But over the years, picking up bits of information from here and there and thinking, oh, that reminds me of that film. I'll go and watch that film again. Now, I've watched it several times, and there is so much stuff in there. And that's a film from the 70s. It sort of came at the end of the great hippie movement, and it encapsulates a lot of, similar to what we've just been talking about, a lot of that kind of new age misdirection, which is why when you first mentioned it, I said, the penis is bad, because that's one of their mantras, that they teach everybody, they force everybody to have that perception of the penis is bad.
That's another thing that was quite shocked at for the time of it. It's got to be 70s, hasn't it?
Yeah.
That it was made. The nudity in it was quite shocking, actually. It was like, what the hell was going on here for the time of it as well, because we were quite big on that as well in that days, weren't they?
There is quite a lot of movies and media stuff from the 60s and 70s where there's a fair amount of nudity in it, because everybody was feeling all liberated and whatever. But they were generally, adults only, on the cinema only. No video back then, or certainly not for the general public. There was, but it was like a reel-to-reel thing. Most people couldn't afford it. It was way beyond most people's money. But there is quite a lot of nudity in films from that time. Let's just look it up on IMDb.
Caligula? Is that around about that time?
Yeah, I think mid-70s, something like that.
That's it. I think Peter O'Toole said that was that was the fucking first porn film I've ever done. No good drinking him. But what an actor. I think he was unhappy about the way that came out.
Stardust was 1974. Written by John Boorman and directed by John Boorman.
Yeah. Have you not seen it, Dave?
What's that, sorry?
Zardos.
I haven't really heard of it, no.
Think of... If I say that, I'm going to give it away, and if I say it. But, watch it. I can definitely recommend it to you, definitely.
I mean, there was a lot of good films in the 70s. Network, right away.
Rollerball.
I've yet to see that. That's another one I've yet to see.
Cocky's put it in chat for you. Is that in Zardos, is it?
Yeah, that's just a link to the IMDb listing for it.
Yeah. I watched it on DVD, me. I went and got it from DVD shop.
I think there's been well, we're all aware there's been a systematic dumbing down process in society. I think that applies to the media as well, like even the entertainment, the films and the music. You go back 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s. I mean, you could go on, right back. As far as you do go back, the quality gets better and better. I think that's been a deliberate thing as well.
Well, I see films, me, of to a certain extent, a leak of information. And I think, this gets mentioned quite a lot is Star Trek. I mean, if you look in the 70s, they had iPads. You know what I mean? It was like 30 odd years, 40 years, you know what I mean? They had iPads in it.
Blatant.
Yeah, I think as well, I feel they do. I think I've seen enough evidence and encountered it often enough to see it in a similar fractal fashion. they put bits of information out there. One for the darkest of them, the ones that are really doing the nastiest things. A lot of them have an ideology where, like a vampire, they have to let you know. So in the same way as the vampire can't enter your property until you invite it in, they need to put in front of you what they're going to do before they do it. And if you say nothing, if you don't protest, they take that as acquiescence. I showed you what I was going to do. You know, I showed you I was going to blow you up. You didn't react, so I'm going to blow you up. There you go. I'm allowed to do it because you didn't complain. Yeah. But there's also a layer. There's all.
Karmic debt.
Yes. There's also a layer where they want to entice others into their net. So they put out little bits of information for those that can see. So if you catch that information, you go, oh, that's where that secret info is. That means I need to join the Freemasonic Order so that I can learn about this great knowledge and become mega powerful just like those people. Yeah. So they put a bit of info out there so it sucks those in that are drawn by the lure of power.
Makes a lot of sense. It definitely makes a lot of sense.
Then compound that with the general sort of reflective ability of people's innate creativity. They generate pop culture that takes what's been given to them. I think this is a big part of the reason why we've seen a rise in this kind of Illuminati bullshit. Because the general populace, the pop culture producers, see this stuff. Well, the majority of them won't comprehend it. They won't realise how it fits in, or the stepping stone that it could be to learn more or empower themselves more. They just see it as another trend or a fashion that they have to join in with. So they sublimate or submit themselves, subjugate themselves to these symbols and meanings and concepts that are given to them by their fashion leaders, the trendy people who are the thought setters. Yeah.
You know, I'd like to ask you, sorry, I'd like to ask you a question that's, we see a slogan, do as thou wilt. I believe, well, through the research that I've done.
Sorry.
What was that? It was like somebody just sucked half of existence out my ear roll.
I was totally enough for that conversation. No, basically, fuck was I talking about now, man?
You wanted to ask me a question.
Do as thou wilt. So, yeah, sorry.
Do as thou wilt, yeah.
Do as thou wilt. Now, I believe that it's one of the most misrepresented and misunderstood sayings in this whole pantheon of research that we're involved in. And it's repeated over and over and over and over again as being a license to do whatever you want, when it couldn't be further from the truth, the original meaning. When you take the whole thing in its context, do as thou wilt. Love is a law. Love under will. You know.
Well, as far as I remember, it's do as thou wilt, but do no harm. Was the original meaning, and it was primarily Crowley. I'm not sure if he was the one that instigated it or whether he was just used as a vehicle to push it. But he, in classic usurper fashion, he severs the original connection, he disrupts the original connection, and changes the ending to be do as thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And what he was saying is, like, I take the original, cut off the ending, and now I'm saying that's the whole of it. Do as thou wilt will be the whole of the law. There is no do no harm bullshit. Do whatever you want. That was Crowley's way of fucking it up, of manipulating it.
And basically everything in this book is lies, or is it everything in this book is the truth? You know, it's classic Crowley misdirection.
Hmm.
Prestidigitation, the manual dexterity and the execution of tricks.
Yep, that was what he was a master at. He was the Derren Brown of his times.
Hmm.
If you look into him a bit, you see how he acted like a bit like Jimmy Savile in a way. He was like a linchpin in the network of a lot of these shadowy groups of controllers and manipulators. He was the face man. He was the one that was willing and happily putting his face out there for the public to actually see, but the public were given this image of an eccentric person who lived in a big house and held weird parties.
One
It's like
story appreciated.
Sorry, say again.
One story for the general peasantry and one for the initiated.
Yes, yeah, definitely. He's like the host of the Hellfire Club kind of thing. You know, he's presented as just being like the eccentric dandy who likes to hold weird parties and interact and rub shoulders with the well-to-do and the aristocracy and the big corporate names and movers and shakers and whatever. But yeah, really, he was playing tricks on all of them. He was manipulating loads of people, just like Jimmy Savile did, like the child catcher that he was. Yeah, acted as a linchpin to form an extra node in that network of all those groups.
Working with Margaret Thatcher at Checkers with the meetups, and Charles obviously with the pals.
Yep. Because of the way their system works and relies so heavily on the use of the negative side of everything, the use of force, the use of manipulation, the use of terror, the use of death and blood magic, all that kind of stuff. They need somebody who will enable those things to happen. So they need a child catcher, basically. So, you know, they have somebody steps into the role, such as the guy who became Jimmy Savile, or who was Jimmy Savile, and same with Crowley. You know, he managed to worm his way into that position. Classic psychopathy as well. You know, he he didn't exactly just luckily fall into the role. He backstabbed his way into it.
You've got to ask yourself if Jimmy Savile could have been physically possible for him to have had his way with so many. I mean, he must have been at it every second of the fucking day. You know, I think he's taking a lot of heat for he's taking a lot of heat on board for a lot of different people's crimes. You know.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
yeah. Have you noticed though? These only come out when they die. So they're the back foot, the shit stop, the fucking sewer. The sewer.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Sacrificial pawn. Now that he's dead.
Yeah, that's it.
Mhm.
The word I
But
like.
well, he's not dead, but same thing.
Another meat shield, like we were talking about earlier. Yeah.
Buffer system. Aye,
Yep.
definitely.
I think that because you mentioned it earlier, when you did your little show earlier before we lost connection, you were mentioning the Madeleine McCann case. I think again we're seeing another go round the merry-go-round of that storyline, where again they're trying to shift people's attention away from the real root of what's going on. It's like, oh no, it was just this, that, or the other. There isn't some big organised paedophilia, human trafficking ring. No, folks, don't worry.
You mean about a father carrying her down the beach to the yacht and passing her over? You mean that bit?
Pretty much. Is that the truth behind the lie? Is it? I can't remember the investigating Portuguese detectives. Is it Guard? He called them. They were suspects until is it Gordon Brown intervened? That was a political first, I think, to get them off when they were doing the Masonic signs to show that they were in trouble, and the police stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
our unelected Prime Minister.
No.
It's interesting. There may be a deliberate connection there, as in he might have been trying to butter his bread to get himself in and keep himself in that position by appeasing the controllers of said network by helping to cover up the crime by exonerating the parents. So again, redirecting people's attention from the actual root of the problem of what's going on and making it seem less than it was, less of a danger than it was, etc. Yeah, because
Have you ever seen Gordon Brown when he meets or he sees Merv King suddenly come into the room, and he's like, he bounces the gopher that walks right out of the way so that he can greet his master with the Maha Bone master grip. I don't know if you've seen the video.
no, I don't remember that one. I might have seen it at some point. I certainly don't remember it.
Gordon Brown Illuminati handshake, Merv King. It's a classic. It's like 38 seconds or something. It's really worth watching.
Just have a look now. See if there's up there.
He was the Bank of England sort of governor, but it's interesting to watch the power, the way, because Brown is subservient to King when obviously it shouldn't be like that, the relationship, but it's the fawning adulation, the sycophantic obsequiousness that's worth watching from Brown.
Gordon Brown.
Merv King, MERV King, handshake.
Sorry, say that again.
It's Merv, MERV, like Mervyn, like short for Mervyn, MERV King, Gordon Brown, handshake. Just got to bring it up. It's the Maha Bone, for anybody who wants to get to that level yet. The actual grip that he's doing, it's signifying that King is the master mason in regard to their relationship.
I've just typed it into, the app on Google, just to see what I could, see any videos on it. The outcome of it is Tony Blair on Tedman Dogberg in 1993. Tories kill off Labour, etc.
It might have been Google Wash and into it.
Yeah, it looks like it. I think we've been listening to them.
Don't like that one though.
Oh. Well, while you've been looking for that, I was just checking on, because I was interested to find more information in here. This is sort of backtracking a little bit. The film Zardos, the director, the writer and director who wrote it as well, John Borman. I pulled up the wiki page of John Borman. Let's see if I can do a screen share, if it'll let me. It will. Oh, cool. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to, being a guest. Right, you see the wiki page, yeah? I've never realised this before, so I thought it was worth checking to have a look at. Some of the films this guy's been involved with, some quite interesting film that worth watching. Deliverance. Deliverance is a real classic. It's really not nice film to watch. It's an unpleasant film to watch, but it's certainly a very interesting film. And Excalibur and the Emerald Forest. I'm not sure. I remember there was another one that was mentioned, which I saw years ago, and it's quite an interesting film. Hell in the Pacific, starring Toshiro Mifune and Lee Marvin. Yeah, this guy's got quite an interesting track record in his cultural media output. But yeah, I'll stop there. That's enough of that. But yeah.
I only saw Deliverance for the first time the other week there. Quite an experience.
Oh, it's you know when you had your screen share up, you had
Yeah.
your YouTube page on.
Was it?
You know when you click on your green duper,
Yeah.
screen share, and you get option in your screen, don't you?
Yeah.
You click on the screen that you actually want to show. Because if you just click it, uh, it just shows whatever page you've got open at the time.
Yeah, I see what it's done. It's shown the other screen, which is where I've got the YouTube feed open. Oh well, don't matter. It was only a Wikipedia page. Just if you just do wiki search for the guy John Borman, you'll see what I mean. But yeah, he's interesting track record.
That's why I tried interrupting you to tell you about.
Sorry.
I don't like interrupting, but I had to tell you that you weren't showing the right thing that you were talking about.
Oh well, people got to see like the infinity page then.
It didn't actually show up as it, well, as far as I don't think it did actually. But I'm just going to have a look now, just see what's see what's coming up on the latest news.
Yeah, I'm going to be making my way in a bit as well because it's knocking on 2 a.m.
Yeah, I know. I've just noticed time myself. That's why I just have a quick look, see what are on headlines, and be looking at wrapping it up. I get more local news for some reason. I've noticed my settings on my computer's changed from open network down to online only, and I haven't done it. Just bugger up. Let's see what this.
So, Dean, are you cool for Friday night in?
Yeah, tomorrow night. That's fine with me. Okay, you're more than welcome. Join us.
Can I make a suggestion for that?
Yeah,
Because I think the title's really good, but what I would suggest is put the in just after the gun. So it's like an in called gun, so you're going gunning. And what you could do then for the title for each week is if you've got a particular topic you want to talk about, you could put gunning for topic title. Do you see what I mean? So you could like gunning for truth or something like that.
yeah, that's good. That I like that. See, that's what I mean. This is why I enjoy you. You're intellectual and you're a deep thinker. Right?
I like playing with language. If we play with it, we take back control of it that they've tried to ensorcel into what they call the dictionary. Yeah, and we know about all the kind of Orwellian shit to do with that, so I deliberately play with it. Plus, I feel that for a lot of people, for the vast majority of us, when you go through normal education, i.e. you don't go through any kind of higher education or whatever, the use of language that they give to you is very actually limiting. It really does do the Orwellian mindfuck shit on you, and people need to start seeing words more malleably or as being more malleable, even though they still carry the meaning that they're meant to have. You free them up a little bit. I know, you'll see people call this a kind of cultural Marxism, where you completely remove the meaning of words so that people lose track of where they are and shit. That's not true. You help them find out what the word really means, the etymology of words, and then they can see how those words affect their society and how it reflects their society that they live in. You know, language is a way for us to communicate. As long as we can communicate, it doesn't matter how we use the language. Which is why, for me, I've got nothing against people, you know, talking an unusual way. Maybe they've got a heavy accent. Maybe they talk in a kind of patois way, whatever, you know, but it's use of language. As long as we can communicate, that's what matters.
I can honestly say, race, creed, whatever, has never bothered me. It hasn't. It's never bothered me. It's like you say, it's how you talk and all that. It don't bother me, and I enjoy talking to different cultures. I really do, and I try my best. When I say, like, when I go to different places, I try my best, but try and learn a bit of their language so I can sort of communicate on their sort of language. You know what I'm getting at.
Yeah. At the minimum, I always learn what is please and thank you.
Yes.
Everything else you can pick up along the way, like, you know, where's the toilet, where's the exit, you know, all that kind of stuff. How much do I pay, whatever. But the primary things is learn how to say please and thank you.
Please, thank you, water. That was cap and see. It's like when you go to some Western countries, you have the female and the male talk. It was like in Thailand, it was cap and crap for a man and cap and car for a woman. So it was like you have to like learn the different ways that like the man and a woman, and because you have the third sex, you know where I'm going with that one.
Yep.
Lady boys is class. It's actually classed as a third sex in Thailand.
Yep.
So because you've got that as well, if you turn around and said to a bloke cap and car, they'd laugh at you. You're not thinking, lady boy, you know. So they made a joke of it, and obviously in their own language to the rest of them. And that's why I enjoy learning language, so they can't catch you out as well. You know what I mean? They call you, and you turn around and. You know, went quite a few times to Thailand, and I went for 3 weeks at a time. It was, I went over to Pattaya, it's a beautiful country. Really enjoyed that. I've done nearly half a bottle of brandy.
Then it would be economical to wind it up here, so you've got at least half a bottle left.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stop the live broadcast.
Is there anybody still in the chat room? I haven't seen anybody post anything for a while, but if you are there, hello, thank you. I think it might only be just ourselves watching now.
Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.